Good morning and welcome to Between the Lines, brought to you live from our Body Armor Coca-Cola studios at USA Today's number one ranked sports bar in the nation, Ferg's Sports Bar and Grill. My name is Tristan, and I'm joined by my co-host Jake. We're here today to give you an in-depth rundown on sports everywhere, but before we jump into the broad topic, there's a lot to discuss with the Tampa Bay Rays spring training. It's the beginning, or really the end of February, the beginning of March. There's so much happening right now as far as Ray's spring training activity goes. What have you seen out of it, Jake?
Well, I think the most important thing that, over the last few days is seeing some guys return from injuries after they've played, missing part of last year. Xavier Isaac, especially. Hunter Biggie is another guy that I'm really looking forward to. He got hit in the face with a ball during last season. But, going back to Xavier Isaac, seeing him come back after, what he calls life-saving brain surgery is really powerful. And I'm very excited to see him come back. And he did actually end up getting a hit last night, too. So, great way to come back.
Absolutely. And there's just so many good stories in this training camp, this spring training here so far. Junior Caminero looks great. He's a returning face from last year that we saw, completely exceeded expectations there. Guys like, I saw Johnny DeLuca hit a home run. Johnny DeLuca, he's been doing pretty well in the spring training so far. I'm not sure what kind of a role he's going to be playing in 2026, but looks good, which is a great sign. But yeah, no, I'm kind of upset that we can't watch the games. There's no real broadcasts on MLB TV, which is where the Tampa Bay Rays will be broadcast in 2026. MLB TV or Rays.tv. There's no real way to watch the broadcasts, which is a little upsetting, I have to admit. But yeah, you're able to keep up with them, and that's what I've been doing throughout the days that they've been playing. And yeah,
the with the broadcasting, they only have a select amount of games, and as the spring training comes down and as more and more games are going to be played, it's going to start getting more consistent. I believe the entire last week is broadcasted. It's going to start getting more and more so as the roster cuts start to happen and we start seeing some more and more close to the major league talent, the broadcasting will be on. So that's definitely a good thing to look out for.
Absolutely. But yeah, all around a great time to be a Tampa Bay Rays fan, especially coming back from a season last year where you had to play at Steinbrenner Field all regular Rays baseball's MLB season. But yeah, the Trop looks great. The turf has been laid. We discussed that the last show that we had, but now it's really being set in stone. Like every last finishing touch is going into place. It's going to be ready for April, which is definitely crazy to say, considering that the roof was blown off less than a year ago, or about a year ago. It's just wild. I don't even know how to the process, how fast the time has gone with this team, everything that's happened just between like the players, the personnel that's on the team, Wander Franco in 2024, things like that happening. This team overall, being sold, that's one of the things that this team has faced. There's just been so much adversity, and I think as Rays fans, it's time that we kind of get a break. Obviously I'm trying to be objective here, but just in general, Rays fans, I think it's time they get a break. Because they've been through so much.
I think a good break would be, extending the guy under the name Junior Caminero, the third base for the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, that's the one notification that I want to wake up to during this, during the spring.
Absolutely. If they could make that happen, I think you can really ask any Tampa Bay Rays fan in the region. That's like the number one thing that's at the top of everyone's list right now is, can Junior Caminero get re-signed? Can they make it happen in a timely manner? And can they secure a future for him with the team? Because, when you review character through guys, the Rays maybe should have done a little bit more of that when they gave their last huge contract to someone. I just said his name earlier. But I really do feel like Junior Caminero is the right guy to be given that type of deal, a long-term, high-value deal, because I mean, for really his first real season as a Ray, comes close to the franchise record for home runs in a single season. I think that alone tells you what you need to know about this individual, and just his play style. But even his character exceeds that. You know, like he threw me a ball. I have a ball in my possession at home, that he threw me at Steinbrenner Field this last season. And a lot of people like to make the argument, obviously, short fences for home that, that season 80 games or so, where, he just gets a shorter field advantage. But there's multiple arguments to be made about the fact that, one, his home runs that he was hitting were, they were they were hard home runs, They were going the distance.
A lot of his home runs were homers in 30 out of 30, 29 out of 30. So it's not a ballpark factor. And a lot of people like to bring up his home versus road splits last year with I believe his road splits being like a 220 average, maybe even like in the 150 to 220 range, depending on what part of the season you look like. But honestly, the point that I want to bring up is his strikeout numbers aren't outrageously high in other stadiums. He still hit the ball hard. He just got super unlucky. His batting average on balls in play at away stadiums was outrageously low. So we could be seeing a 280 batting average season at Junior Caminero here. Do I think he gets back up to that 45 homers due to the fact that, it is a longer fence or at least taller? I don't think so. He's, I would put him in that 36 to 38 range that I think he's going to get to. And then, maybe in a few seasons from now, when he's, a true adult and really reaching his prime years, I could very easily see him hitting, 50 home runs and breaking the Rays all-time record. Just hopefully it's here.
Absolutely. And then the other argument to be made, when you look at everything, is like, look at Kauffman Stadium. Look at the right? They're lowering the fences. They're bringing them in a few feet. The New York Yankees, they have historically low short fences, or short distance fences. I mean, if you're really, it's kind of like in the NFL with injuries. It's like, it's something that every team deals with at some point. You can't really make an argument like that's solid with it, giving an advantage to, one individual specific team or player, because everyone deals with it. Like if your franchise if you really have a problem with that, shorten your fences, bring them in a little bit. I don't really know what to tell you, like the Rays. I think the Rays still hit plenty of home runs when they're in Tropicana Field and on center field's 405. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I think it's absolutely, like, there's no argument to be made there. It's a stupid argument. But yeah, I'm excited to see how they look back in Tropicana Field, how the team looks back in Tropicana Field. I feel like everyone's going to look just more comfortable, more excited to play as a team in Tropicana Field. Even as Junior Caminero said himself, it's home. It's his home. And yeah, just couldn't be more excited to watch them play there.
Now, talking about, excited to see some players, are there any players that you're excited to see or, watch during the spring training that, not obviously, everybody's obviously excited to watch Junior Caminero and Yandy Diaz play baseball, but are there any, lower tier players that are fighting for a roster spot that you're excited to see this offseason?
Well, I don't know necessarily about lower tier players, but someone I am excited to see more out of is Gavin Lux. I do want to see more play out of him. I haven't seen much out of him so far. With whatever he's dealing with, or just however they're splitting the lineups. I'd have to say I like the fight Richie Palacios is putting in. At first I feel like we were both kind of not the highest on him going into spring training into the regular season. We definitely knew we didn't want him playing anywhere in the infield, which is kind of where they had him slated for the greater part of the offseason. But I like the fight he's putting in. You can tell he's fighting for a roster spot. He's fighting for a spot in the bigs, and he's fighting hard, and he deserves everything that he's going to get. I don't know what he's going to get yet. Honestly, with the fight everyone's putting up right now in spring training, I have no clue as to what to tell you as to what the final 40 man is going to look like in full. Like there's some locks, obviously, but besides those, like this team could really go anywhere. And I think that's something we were talking a lot about. I said talk so much about the off season, but really, we were just in the off season, coming out of it, in spring training right here, kind of getting back into the swing of things. That's something we talked about so much is the team wasn't addressed like hardly at all in any ways. They really didn't make any big signings to, sway the, clubhouse in any specific direction. And they didn't, they didn't secure any big names. And so, we really have no idea what could be coming for this team.
I kind of disagree with the, didn't acquire any big names. I
mean,
really
Cedric
do,
Mullins, but
I mean, I really do think that Jacob Melton, although he's not, a superstar, he's not necessarily, I guess necessarily he isn't a big name. He is a big name prospect, and he is the real deal, I believe. And, him coming out and fighting for a roster spot right now, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he makes it. But based on the way he's played in spring, I've really liked the at-bats he's putting up. He's seeing the ball well right now, and, I think that could really be a very, very big impact bat coming into this season.
Definitely. There's definitely quite a few guys to look out for. But that's part of the reason. That's what I'm saying when I suggest that it's a time to be excited for Rays fans. Is there's just so much to look forward to, so many players that haven't had their chance yet, in the majors with the Rays, because they did sign, they signed people. I'm just saying they didn't sign any big names necessarily. They definitely signed some individuals. The IndyCar race. The IndyCar race series is going on down here in downtown St. Petersburg, Florida. I was there for the second day of race activities Friday. There was a lot going on there. There was so much activity, so many people. The races that were happening were invigorating. They were so exciting. It's a great activity if you want to go with your family. I was there with my father and my sister. It's very, very, very fun. And if you're any fan of IndyCar, they actually had the qualifying races going on that Friday evening, and there were actually some recognizable names. I don't think Palou was racing. He started on Saturday. Today is Sunday. Today is the day of the actual major, marquee race. Fox has been doing a great job covering the event. I don't know if you've been watching any of it, Jake. I don't know if you've been keeping up with it, but overall the races have been going very well. No major news really to break anything there, but just some great races overall happening, and love to see an event like that happening in St. Pete.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch any of it. I've been pretty busy over the last few days with work and the gym and just going through and doing some stuff. But I definitely do want to catch some of the maybe watch it back.
Absolutely. And it's really I can't make enough of a point to just say get down there. Even if you don't have a ticket to the event, you can still kind of walk around the area of the race. You can get some views, some glimpses into the stands, some glimpses into maybe the track. I'm not exactly sure, but there's so much going on down here in St. Pete. They're rebuilding the Trop. The IndyCar race is going on. The Rowdy Stadium is right there. The preseason is kind of, it's happening. There's still a few games left, I believe. But the regular season is approaching for them. Things are looking good. The last Rowdy's game I went to was in the last about a week and a half, 2 weeks. And it was a great Rowdy's game, great preseason game. It was not the Core Hall Cup. I did see they won the Core Hall Cup, but they also won the game against FC Naples that I went to. It was a beautiful night. But really all nights are beautiful at Al Lang Field. I don't really think there's any news to break about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. They haven't really done anything,
Well, the one storyline with the Buccaneers right now is it revolves around the guy that's been here since, I can even remember, and it's Mike Evans. The criteria that he's been looking for in a team has been surfaced today. He wants, I'll pull it back up right here but Mike Evans is looking for a QB that he believes in. And we'll go through and we'll see whether or not we think that the Bucs relate to this. So a QB he believes in. Do you think Mike Evans truly believes in Baker Mayfield?
I think he does.
I also agree.
I do think he does believe in Baker Mayfield. I think every sign that he's shown says that he believes in Baker Mayfield. I think he speaks confidently of Baker Mayfield in interviews, press conferences, when he's asked on the street. I don't think he's not confident in him.
I think deep down, I think if you were to ask him and he couldn't lie, he would tell you that Baker Mayfield is probably, around the 6th to 9th best quarterback in the league. I don't think he would say that he's top 5 truly deep down, but I do think he does believe in Baker Mayfield and, the weapons around him. Obviously, anybody will succeed, but I think Baker really brings out that fire, and I think Mike Evans truly does believe in him. So we'll say that's 1 for 1 right now out of 4 criteria. A chance at a Super Bowl. What are your thoughts on that? Because I definitely know my thoughts about it.
The chances of a Super Bowl this season?
Yeah.
Honestly, going into it pre-draft, Jason Light in the Combine interview said that, the draft is their bread and butter. And really, when you look at their history, that is what you see. He drafted Mike Evans. He drafted guys like Tristan Wirfs, guys that have succeeded time and time again. And, that guys have Antoine Winfield Jr., Chris Godwin Jr., guys that have not let anyone down by any stretch of imagination. But honestly, I don't know how much this draft could save Tampa Bay Buccaneers if they don't pull something really huge out. Which, by the way, kind of a shameless plug here. The 2026 NFL Draft will be covered on Between the Lines on the Tampa St. Pete Sports Connection by us here at Ferg Sports Bar and Grill in downtown St. Petersburg, Florida. We will cover it out back. We will have a kind of eagle eye view of the stage in back of us, all the crowds that will be there, supporting their teams, their respective teams during the first couple rounds of the 2026 NFL Draft. It's going to be a great event. Really, you should tune in. Come out to Ferg Sports Bar and Grill. Enjoy the night. It's going to be awesome. But yeah, if you don't have any plans that night, if you want to spend the night with some people, some like-minded individuals, then tune into Between the Lines on the Tampa St. Pete Sports Connection. You will not be let down. We have a great show.
And make sure that they are like-minded because, when me, Tristan, we'll assume that there's some other guys that are going to be there as well. We're all kind of idiots, so make sure you are around some smart people. That way you have at least a little bit of smart in you.
Yeah, you got to balance it out, you cannot, you can't tip the scale in any one direction. In other news for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the NFL.
Let's get through the Mike Evans thing.
Okay.
I have that next as well.
Yeah.
But so a chance at a Super Bowl. I will say this: if Mike Evans wants to sign on the first day of free agency, as many free agents do, there is a 0 chance he will be back with the Buccaneers if he wants all 4 criteria to be met, because there is 0 chance this roster is going to a Super Bowl we look at.
That's kind of a given because, any player with that level of experience that late in their career that has that opportunity to go to free agency and kind of expand on their options a little bit, they're going to have to take a cut if they want to stay with their current team and build something greater. You saw it with Tom Brady when he was in New England. He took pay cuts all the time. Not necessarily saying that Mike Evans is on the level of Tom Brady as an individual player. Tom Brady is the greatest player of all time to ever, play the game. Mike Evans is just a very, very, very good wide receiver. Later in his career, a little kind of, past his prime. Don't want to say it, but he is. And he's just looking for a place that will pay him the right amount. The biggest thing I think for Mike Evans and his family is just kind of deciding on an amount, right? Picking an amount that they're comfortable with taking. Telling the Buccaneers, their organization, all the other organizations that they're in conversations with, this is the amount that we want. These are our terms. This is where we feel the most comfortable. And, you can you can decide. It's up to you. And I feel like it has really come down to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front office, the head of the organization, the Glazer family, Jason Light, and what they feel is best going forward for the team. Obviously, a huge piece for the community. Also, the team as well, an amazing wide receiver. I don't overlook his ability. 11 seasons straight with 1,000 yards, one season without just because of the injury he faced that put him out for multiple games.
And when he came back, you could tell he's still the same player.
Yeah, he absolutely wanted that 1,000 yards, even if it was so far out of reach. You could just tell that he wanted it, he desired it. And even though, when he's asked about it in interviews and whatnot, he will say that it's something he looks past. It's not something he really focuses on. He focuses more on winning games and kind of locking in and just, getting that hardware at the end of the season, rather than at the NFL honors or whatever. Just kind of, he wants the Super Bowl rather than the individual records, but you could tell that it affected him a little bit to not have that at the end of the season. Do you remember the cheering and the celebrations last year at the Saints game at home when he was able to achieve 1,000 yards, just barely on that cusp of the last game, because he also faced some hamstring injuries in that season.
It's the loudest Ray J's been in a while.
Absolutely. I mean, before that, the loudest Raymond James had ever been, or not ever been, sorry, but just been in general, was when I was there for it, honestly, with the Eagles game in 2023, the playoff game. That was insane. When David Moore made that catch going towards the touchdown,
nobody
the end
thought
zone.
we would get that win. I didn't even think personally that the Buccaneers had a chance of winning that game, but with the way the Bucs roster is right now, I do think they need a superstar edge rusher. And if you can pull it off to give up your first round pick next year and whatever other day 2 or day 3 picks you need for this year, get Arvell Reese, get Max Crosby, make it happen, really fortify that defense, and Mike Evans will be back on your team because he will know that this team has a great shot at making the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's the same with Lavonte David, although Lavonte David's shifting much more to the side of retiring. He's late, very, very late in his career, much later than even Mike Evans, believe it or not. But he's kind of at that point where I don't think he would ever go to another team. I don't think that's even on the table.
He already has said that it's Buccaneers or retirement.
Yeah.
As a 36-year-old linebacker who spent your entire career with one team, that is the right choice to make. There's no reason for Lavonte David to get an extra $1 million to move across the country for a year when he spent his entire life right here in Tampa Bay.
Absolutely.
And trying to learn an entire new defense. It's not smart for him. But up next, I would say we're 1.5 for 2 on Mike Evans right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a 50-50 chance on whether or not he thinks that there's a Super Bowl. Right now, probably not. Depending on how their free agency goes with some trades, probably could. A top shelf offensive coordinator. Now that's a one that I'm really, really torn between. That's all Mike Evans. There's nothing that we can even say about that because, obviously didn't have that much of success in Atlanta, but, he is from the McVay tree. Baker seems to like him a lot. So I do think I would lean on the yes side of that.
Honestly, what's up, Brad, in the chat? Sorry, we forgot to make a note of that. Hey, how you doing, Brad? Brad says, sup, dudes, Mike Evans, just wait for the day he gets inducted into the Ring of Honor. Absolutely, I completely agree. His name will be up on the Ring of Honor in Raymond James someday when he will.
Whether or not he leaves.
He will also eventually be in the Hall of Fame. I absolutely concur with that. I couldn't agree more. He's just one of those generational talents you see once every so often. A guy that will be talked about later. Just, don't come across guys like that very often.
Yeah, especially at 6'5" with his speed and everything like that.
Talking about Zach Robinson, offensive coordinator, of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now heading into 2026, hired recently. I like the hiring. I kind of do as well. I like the hiring, honestly. At first, I was very questionable about it. I didn't know. I was, unsure. But looking back on it, I do like Zach Robinson with weapons. I like Zach Robinson with Baker Mayfield, a guy who can, when he's healthy and not questionable about a shoulder injury or, something in his pec or something in his arm, when he's healthy and feels good, I feel like he can really be a great playmaker. I was actually, believe it or not, one of the people towards the end of the last season that said, we're kind of seeing Cleveland Baker here because he went 30 for 30. He got injured. He had a bad season. He had made the playoffs previously, but now look at where we are. What are we doing? We're wasting generational talents on both sides of the ball. But then again, there was also so many injuries on the team. There were so many inconsistencies around the organization that we didn't think we were going to see. Obviously, at the end of the season, it really started with Liam Cohen leaving. I feel like, at that weird kind of situation where Liam Cohen just
So
dipped.
devastating.
Yeah, it was devastating at the time for sure, where he just kind of dipped when we thought we had him for another year. Obviously, looking back, hindsight, understand the move, excelled in Jacksonville this year. But
phenomenal coach.
Yeah,
All
phenomenal
around
coach.
coach.
I wish we would have stuck with him longer, but that's a conversation for another
It's a
time.
business, you can't blame the
It
guy
really
for
is.
wanting to take
It's
an
an
extra $4 million a year.
It's an organization. You have to treat it like one. Don't blame him at all, really. But getting into, do you have another line?
The last one, and this one will be pretty easy, so we'll move off of this pretty quick.
All right,
but
perfect.
a promise of high volume touches.
A promise of 5. I don't think that's ever been a
I don't
question
think
for
so
Mike
either.
Evans.
Mike Evans knows that if he's back in Tampa, he is going to be the focal point of an offense. I think there's only a few teams that really even eliminates, the Bengals, for example, and, obviously the Vikings with Justin Jefferson, the teams with the very, very high end receivers. I think he might not get that very high volume touching, especially with, going to a new system. But any team that doesn't have a, top 5, even maybe probably even just 3 wide receiver, he is going to be the focal point of an offense.
Listen, Mike Evans, I do feel in some way would have a problem if he was not the wide receiver 1 on the Buccaneers offense in 2026. However, that would never happen.
Yeah, we know if he's back, especially at the, maybe in 3 years, if he wants to keep playing 3 more years, he might, not be, might turn into a Mecca Ibuka, maybe even Tez Johnson or Jalen McMillan. But, if he's back, at least for the next 2 seasons, unless he just somehow falls off a cliff this year, he will be the wide receiver 1 and focal point of the offense.
Absolutely. And if he's coming back, the Buccaneers are going to make it a point to, keep him highlighted on the offense, design plays to get him the ball, even if it's not a focal point, to get him another 1,000 yards, because, he's already broken the streak. So there's really no huge point to make that happen anymore. But I mean, it's just no question he's going to be the focal point of the offense, because he's just, I mean, you even saw it. Look at the reception he had against the Atlanta Falcons, against their secondary late in that game on Thursday Night Football. We were there. We were in Raymond James Stadium for that game. We were in the corner where the reception happened. We watched it live. It was insane. Literally over the shoulder, kind of caught it over the Atlanta Falcons receiver. I mean, you couldn't have scripted it better.
That was just the most Mike Evans play Mike Evans has ever made.
It's just raw Mike Evans talent. He's a deep threat. You can't. You could double him.
But what is that going to do when the guy's 6'5"?
Exactly. He's built like a tight end, but and
he moves like a receiver.
What are you going to do about it? You don't see guys like that.
I'm just gonna put this out as a warning right now. If the Buccaneers take Kenyon Sadiq at pick number 15 in this year's NFL draft, I don't even know what I'll do. If they don't go edge rusher, corner, linebacker, D-line, safety, literally anything on defense in the first round, I'm gonna, the setup that we have on draft day might break.
Absolutely.
Like we might not make it past 30 seconds past pick 15 if a tight end gets picked in round 1.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I might, make a clip later or something. I'm not sure. I might throw in the video, but I don't think you guys quite understand the reactions that you're going to get on draft night from us.
Oh my gosh. We watched the draft together last year, and when Emeka Egbuka got picked, we all just stared at each other like this.
Yeah, like we couldn't believe it.
Going receiver, it's, and I do agree, that in down the future, it'll look like a good pick. But when you are this close to a Super Bowl, you need to go out and just get the best available guy to fit your team right now. Even if that's not the best guy available, you need help on defense, so go and pick defense.
Absolutely. Get the defense, sound, get them set, get them ready. Todd Bowles said last year in the offseason that obviously you need an offense to score points, otherwise you can't win games, and that's true, but defense wins championships, as we all know. I don't believe they should do anything other than go with a linebacker here, a defensive lineman. Maybe even some type of elite safety if they could get someone in the first, couple picks, but I don't even really think there's anyone
And you know what?
there that would really assist the defense that much.
Maybe even package Antoine Winfield to go and get a guy like Max Crosby, one that'll shed salary. And I think safety is one of the easiest positions to replace. I do think Antoine Winfield is a great talent, but he hasn't been the same the last 2 years. If you're able to get that off, and I'm fine going into next year. Hopefully you can get restricted free agent. What's his name?
Trey Hendrickson?
No, the restricted free agent, our backup safety.
Oh,
had a pick in his first game against
Tyke
the Vikings.
Smith?
No, the other one. I'm blanking on his name.
Whitehead's gone.
Christian
Izien.
Yeah, I'm fine going out next year with Christian Izien and Tyke Smith being our safeties with JJ Roberts as depth. Because that's a group I wouldn't go out and say that's going to be a great group. But if you're putting Max Crosby on the line, I don't think it's going to matter.
Absolutely. And as you were saying, and I just mentioned his name a second ago, Trey Hendrickson, he's a free agent. You could go grab him. I don't think they franchise tagged him.
They did not after the injuries he dealt with last year. And he's definitely a guy that at first I was, sold on getting, but after looking a little bit more into it, I think, I don't think it's as high of a chance, but I think there is a chance that could turn out to be a Hassan Reddick. But even if they do sign him,
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think he shows too much promise. I honestly, at first, I was skeptical of him. I said, the thing is with Trey Hendrickson for me is they cannot give him too much for him. They have to give up the right perfect amount. They have to craft a deal with the Bengals or something. Not even with the Bengals. Not with the Bengals. With him. My bad. They have to craft the most perfect deal with him, with his agents, to get him satisfied with coming down, playing for a team that could, have a realistic shot at the Super Bowl if they have a guy that plays like Trey Hendrickson in 2022. If they can have a guy like him, and there's even a guy that I said from the start that the Bucs should try to acquire at all costs. And this is, kind of a hot take, I feel like, with some people. Some people don't really like this as much, but I said that they should go for division rival Chase Young. I thought Chase Young.
I agree.
I thought Chase Young would have absolutely fit in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers scheme. I'm not sure how his morale is. I'm not sure how he acts in the locker room.
Who cares at this point, honestly?
But yeah, like at this point, you really have to sacrifice that a little bit. If you have a guy like Devin White, where they can assist the defense on a whole nother level for a 2022 type Super Bowl run, but they're a diva. They act a little self-centered. Maybe they're not the kindest. Maybe they don't pick up their teammates after every hit, but they get the job done. I feel like that's what a guy like Chase Young could do, and I don't even know how his morale is. He could have a great morale. I'm not sure.
I will say this: get an absolute asshole on the defense right now, especially on the D line. Look back at past years. Warren Sapp, obviously that was so long ago, but he is having an entire X factor on that D line who will get in everybody's face, who will show pride. There's not many guys on the defense that do that, especially not after last year.
Yeah.
Like Vita Vea is a guy that you'll normally see play with some fire, but playing on that D line, what else are you going to do?
Yeah, I don't know. He had no assistance, assistance at all. And it was hard to watch. Hassan Reddick was jogging the whole time. You saw no passion, no heart out of the play. I will say Elijah Roberts, the rookie, stepped up, absolutely stepped up. He made so many more plays than you would have expected from a rookie his caliber, taken in the 5th round from SMU, Southern Methodist University. I mean, absolute stud. Jacob Parrish in the secondary, complete stud, stepped up. He filled the role of, kind of the nickel corner that I feel like no one else in his role really could have. I think they really try to plug and play a few different guys, rookies, undrafted free agents. I think that even one point in the preseason they had Shiloh Sanders in that position. There were so many guys that they tried, to get in that position, try to get ready for that sort of thing, and they just couldn't find the right guy. They finally got Jacob Parrish, came their way, and just really, showed everything they were looking for. I think he's going to be a huge key to this defense in 2026, and I really think that other teams are going to be game planning for him a lot. But yeah, he's dangerous. He's fast, scrappy. He always gets to the ball, tries to make the play,
and he plays physical.
He plays very
especially
physical
for a guy who's 5'9", 5'10". He plays very, very physical.
Still comes from an FBS D1, but Kansas, it's a smaller school, on the greater scale of things. So I really feel like they produce the scrappiest, hardest hitting guys in the best ways. A guy I'm looking forward to seeing in 2026, David Walker. Didn't get to see him.
Absolutely.
ACL injury in this the last actual camp. OTAs. He had a ACL injury, and out for the season. It's very tragic. But Central Arkansas, he actually did come from a division. I believe it's Division III. But you always love to see those guys from a Division III, standout player that stands out in not only their team but their league. Leads the league in their college league, whatnot, in the sacks, tackles, forced fumbles, whatever. But he was just a huge talent coming out of college, very twitchy, very fast. Everything you really want in kind of like an edge rusher, kind of outside linebacker, defensive kind of tackle mesh.
Reminds me of Shaq Barrett a lot.
Absolutely, actually. That's a great comparison.
Undersized, small school, just, really, really fast off the line. I think David Walker, obviously coming off an ACL injury, being a 4th-round pick in his first real season playing in the NFL, no, he's not going to put up a Shaq Barrett level numbers. But I mean, when he's 28 years old, who's to say that we don't have a guy getting 19 sacks a season? That's a very, very far stretch. But I think that is truly the ceiling of a guy like David Walker.
To compare a guy like David Walker to Shaq Barrett's a very fair comparison. I completely agree. And that's a great point to make. But before we veer off the topic of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here, I do want to talk about the NFL Players Association grade for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Every single year leading up to this year, the NFL Players Association is basically the union for the players in the NFL. They go to each team and they go through and they interview all the players and they ask them, they basically Q&A them, and they ask them these different questions. And based on the questions that they ask the different players and the people in the organization, they grade them, and they grade their different aspects, their treatment of facilities, their nutritionists, their locker room, all the way to their team travel, their head coach, their GM, their overall rank, everything. They even usually list specific quotes. I don't have any specific quotes here from different teams. Obviously, it's all whistleblower. It's all anonymous. But I do have the rankings here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2026. There is a point to be made about how they are trying to get rid of I was going to mention cards.
That, but also I did want to point out that this isn't every single player in the entire NFL that's getting asked. It's about 70%, right?
Yes. So every team has representatives that they, like a Cade Otton, for example, is representative for the Buccaneers.
And hopefully he won't be there next year because I do not want him back on this roster.
Yeah, Keith.
Get a different guy out there, whether it's the same play style, same skill, just get a different guy.
Keith, who we did not see play this year, is I believe he's the backup representative for the NFL Players Association. They report from the PA back to the team, back and forth. They get all the information to and from, and they kind of coordinate things, and then those grades are formatted. They also send people to the organizations, I believe, to kind of interview them, pry a little bit, get behind closed doors. But yeah, here is I believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went down in 11 categories from last year. But here are the grades before we go off the topic. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, treatment of facilities, D.
It's disgusting. I'm going to be so honest.
I don't
Looking at the entire thing, actually, you know what's funny? The two things that Well, there's 3, but Anthony Paroli is gone now, so we'll say 2.
Thank God.
Yeah, thank God. There is 2 things that the Buccaneers fans hate on the most, and it's Jason Light and it's Todd Bowles. Jason Light, not so much, but I've seen a lot of Jason Light bashing over the last few weeks. But
I think so, and
those were the
it's
2
very
best graded.
unfair. If you look at his history,
Yeah.
if you look at the track record of most general managers in the league and their respective teams on even very successful teams, it is very unfair to shame Jason Light and how he's handled the last couple of years. He has really tried to just hold his own through. I mean, think about it. They really didn't even have a rebuilding period after Tom Brady.
And being negative 60 million, I believe, in cap space. Like,
exactly.
He went out and got a guy, Baker Mayfield, obviously he's not the one developing them, but he knows what his trainers and his coaches are able of developing, and he got the guy perfect for the team.
I hate to say it, but like objectively taking a step back and looking at the situation as a whole, if you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan and you are upset at Jason Light right now in this situation that's happening, I mean, you're kind of, I don't know how to respectively say this. You're kind of like too used to winning, right? There's so many teams. Look at the Jets. Look at the Browns. I'm not saying that you should get used to winning. I'm not. Or
look
sorry,
at the Bucs
losing. I'm not saying you should get used to losing ever. Don't ever get used to that. That's not a fan mentality ever. I think you should always want your team to win. But what I'm saying is most teams, they have to go through a period of 2 to 3 to 4 years where they rebuild the offense, rebuild the defense. They go through a heavy period of kind of downfall after they sign a guy like Tom Brady. Guys like, they had Ndamukong Suh on that team. They had Julio Jones on that team. They had Antonio Brown on that team. They had Rob Gronkowski on that team, who had $1 million bonuses for the catches that he was, getting on the latter half of his contract with the Bucs. They immediately went from winning the Super Bowl back to winning games and making it back to the playoffs a year later with Baker Mayfield, a different quarterback, a different system, different coordinators. And there was never a period where Buccaneers fans had to go through 2017 Bucs, or even God forbid 2014 Bucs 2-14. Oh my God, don't even get me started. But yeah, going back to these grades, home game field, F-.
Agree.
Yeah.
Buccaneers fans need to stop selling their tickets to the Eagles fans when they come down. They need to stop selling the tickets to the Bills fans and to the Patriots fans and to all these other teams that are coming down here, because the Buccaneers fans will show up. But if you're going to sell your tickets to opposing fans, there's nothing else.
So I do agree. I do think this is talking about the specific groundskeeping of the physical field itself, like the green.
That also.
That's
inexcusable.
It's awful. If you
it's not that expensive to fix something like that.
If you watch all the Bucs games, I feel like we see so many guys slipping all the time, and the sod always getting kicked up.
And I will say this, Bucky Irving, I know he was also, a little bit of contact, but that was partly a slip, and he missed 8 games for that?
Exactly.
In which they didn't put him on the IR because who knows what's going through Anthony Paroli's little peanut brain. But hey, I mean, ain't my problem.
Which, keep real grass fields. It's a real grass field. It's not turf. Yeah. Keep real grass
Maintain
fields.
It, though.
Absolutely, on all, on all purposes. Keep real grass fields, but
and change the turf fields to grass as well. While we're talking about it, I know we're talking about the Bucs, but MetLife Stadium,
turf kills. Turf kills. All right, I'm gonna list the rest of these real quick because we're coming short on time here.
And then we'll hit the big ones.
Yeah, we'll hit the big ones. Food and dining area, D+. Nutritionist, dietitian, B-. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Locker room, D-. Would like to see more improvement on that. That's pretty bad. Training room, C. Okay, don't mind that. Training staff, C+, believe it or not. Which, I mean, I would have believed it was a little bit worse with all the injuries that were faced last year. But
dumbass get included in that.
There is a point to be made about the randomness of injuries happening in game. A Jalen McMillan spinal fracture, neck fracture. That's just
a freak injury.
That's a freak injury. Yeah. Mike Evans collarbone concussion at the same time.
Another one that's
freak injury. You can't control
broken
those.
Bones you can't control.
But there's little things.
Tears.
There's little things over time that you can condition the players that have been in the organization for so long. Vita Vea, Lavonte David, Mike Evans. Lavonte David.
I want to throw in there.
I do have to say, Lavonte David is the absolute best case for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers training staff over the long period of time, considering how consistent he's been. But then again, if you go back and look at his Nebraska days, he was the same way. He's just a dog. He's always been like that.
And he plays hurt at 36 years old. That's That's the type of guy I want leading my defense.
Jason
every
Light
year.
wishes he could have drafted Levante David.
Oh yeah.
Um, But yeah, going back, the weight room is an A-. The strength coaches are an A, good. The position coaches are a B. The offensive coordinator is a B, believe it or not. The defensive
offensive?
yeah,
Wait, no. Say you swear.
offensive coordinator is a B.
What the hell was going on?
Defensive coordinator, which is Todd Bowles, this operates as the head coach ranking, is an A-.
Wait, can I ask? Did they interview the players after week 6?
Listen. So
B for Josh.
No, you have to
Grizzard?
understand. You have to understand.
Oh my god.
No. You have to understand. Listen. I think the players, when they're polled on this stuff, they genuinely do have a good, strong connection with Todd Bowles and Josh Grizzard at this time. No matter what the performance looks like on the field, no matter what we thought at this time, I do think that they have a strong connection with the coaches and they like them a lot as people. And I think that's enough to move these players because of the locker room, the care that they put into nurturing the locker room mentality. I think that this stands in the fact that they are good enough people to set aside the performance on the field and their coaching ability and actually just treat them as, oh, I like them as people. So it's a B for Josh Grizzard and A- for Todd Bowles. So I don't agree with it. And I think if it was a fan poll, it would absolutely it would be an F-. It would be completely flipped. But I don't think that the fan perspective as a whole is a mirror image of what's going on in the organization.
And I'm sure Josh Grizzard and Todd Bowles included, as well as, even the special teams coordinator, Thomas McGoffrey are great people. But
yeah, which I want to hate. I want to hate on that. But I have to say it's a good thing. In hindsight, it's a good thing. You want people that like the people
because then they'll work
that are leading them. Because then they will work.
If they will work for you, then you at least got something going.
Absolutely. Special teams coordinator C+, which they improved on by hiring Danny Smith. Team travel F.
That's the one that year by year has gone on, and you hear stories of it. Like last year, the Buccaneers, I believe they didn't let families travel with the players.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean,
stupid.
That's ridiculous.
That's so stupid.
You're telling me Baker Mayfield can't go on the plane with his wife Emily Mayfield because what? The Glazers are too there's nothing.
Yeah,
there's nothing.
It's really stupid. I have no idea. I don't agree with it, but yeah, they really need to fix that. General manager A-, Jason Light, what we were just talking about, made a great point about him. Great guy. Met him at the the event.
Phenomenal
event. Team ownership D. Glazers. Whatever. I'm not really sure what that's based on. The players aren't really that close with the ownership. Overall rank 29. That is fudging awful. 29 out of 32. That's very bad. Quickly,
it's fixable things too.
That's all fixable things.
If it was coaches, the players not liking the coaches necessarily, that's fixable. But it's also one of those things that's like a tedious process. But I mean, the Glazers being cheap, that's just, there's nothing else to it. Fix the turf. I'm not even asking for this super expensive rebuild. I also do think, I see you pulling up some college baseball here, but talking about a little bit of college football, I think part of the reason that the stadium is a little bit worn down is because the USF Bulls do play in the Buccaneers Stadium just the day before. I think, I don't think that's a big problem. The Steelers, I know, are a team that has the Pitt team also does that, but I think that is a little bit of a thing that maybe wears down the field quicker, but it's not an excuse. You are a billionaire.
Yeah.
Fix it.
Well, okay. As we wrap up the show here, obviously I'm wearing the USF Bulls shirt. I just wanted to quickly talk about the USF Bulls baseball team did just beat, I believe it was Memphis. I'm not sure. Memphis or FAU, not quite sure. They beat them twice in the same day. But that was really impressive. You love to see it from the USF baseball team. But this is actually, I wanted to talk about briefly the USF college basketball team. They have been on a very impressive run in the American Athletic Conference recently. They just beat Rice 75-56 on Wednesday. Before that, they beat Memphis, who these are all in the same conference, 87-66. same conference. They beat FAU 83-81. They beat Wichita State 66-58. They beat Tulsa 80-74. They beat UTSA 109-88. I mean, they have been on a roll recently. They've been on a great groove. I love to see USF basketball operating at this high of a rate. I'm a huge USF basketball fan personally. And, you know, you love to see them gearing up towards March Madness, looking this strong. Very, very, very admirable. And you do love to see it. I don't know if you really watch college basketball that much.
Not college basketball. I do want to get into some college baseball, though.
We do have to wrap up. We do have less than a minute left.
Yeah, it is approaching the 12 o'clock marker. So we'll save some college baseball for next time. But, you know, just to wrap things up here, I do want to mention that the players have officially reported to the countries for WBC. If you take a look at Junior Caminero, you know, he's definitely one example. He has posted his jersey. He is in the locker room. I checked Fernando Tatis's story, and him, as well as, you know, guys like Julio Rodriguez are all in the locker room. They're all hanging out. You know, that's obviously just Team Dominican Republic, but I'm assuming every single team has been reporting today. And World Baseball Classic is upon us, and that's very exciting.
Absolutely. Huge news for baseball with the World Baseball Classic approaching steadily, and just the MLB as a whole coming up very soon. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to Between the Lines, live from Ferg Sports Bar and Grill from 11 to 12 each and every Sunday morning. There's so much going on. We appreciate you listening, and we hope you have an amazing week.